Today I will be quieting down my muffler, or as I've told my friends, I'm adding a muffler to my muffler. I've had this Rogue Pipeworks RPW Axe on my bike for a year and a half now. I've got almost 20,000, no, almost 15,000 miles on the exhaust now. 15,000 miles on it, a year. As you can see, it's aging beautifully. It's still shiny. Still no rust anywhere, not a trace of rust. The back half of this, the clamp right here loosened at one point, so this was shaking a little bit and it caused a little bit of scuffing right here, but it's not a show bike. And you know, I've kind of had a gripe about the way this heat shield sits right up here, but other than that, it's held up great, and that's been like that since the beginning, so it's not really an age gripe. I've gotten used to checking the oil, run the engine for 30 seconds, shut it off, wear my gloves, and then I can check the oil level. It's annoying, but it's what I do. Anyways, before I take this off, I went and took it to a nice field, and I did a couple of decibel tests. So I used a decibel tracking app, as you'll see in a moment here, and we got some baselines for the original exhaust. This thing is just too loud. I love the sound of this, so I'm hoping that this resonator, or this dB killer doesn't change the tone too much, but I bet it does because it's completely different. But anyways, at this point, I can't take it. I did a Saddle Sore 1000 on this thing, and even with earplugs in, well, I got done. My ears were just numb, so I need to tone this thing down. It overpowers my earplugs. It overpowers my communications system. My kids don't like to ride with me because it's so loud, so I've got to bring it down a couple of notches. So anyways, here's the new thing. I'll get some close-ups, but essentially they stuck a cap in the middle of it, so there's like no room for air to get through. It's gonna be interesting. They insist that it won't kill the performance and it won't need a retune. I think they're smoking something. I think it's going to do both. I think it's going to kill the performance, and I think it's going to need a retune to, you know, save anything. But we'll see. I was getting pretty desperate, so at least I'll still have this nice look. I really like this smooth single pipe. I really dislike the dual pipe that they came with factory, but that's just my tastes. Anyways, this should come off real quick. I've got to do this T-bolt here. Got 2 bolts here, and then a bunch of reefing to get it to slide off. Shouldn't be too hard. The bolt was a little corroded, so I put a little oil on it. I don't think this heat shield needs to come off. I think it'll be fine staying there. Got oil all over it. Yeah. These, I believe, oh, I lost one of these. Okay, that's wonderful. So one of these has fallen out. Well, at least I still got one of them back there. Otherwise the exhaust would be falling off. I'm not real sure what size this is. I think it's a 13. Yep. Yeah, this bolt wasn't even tight. My exhaust was about to fall off. That's reassuring. It's all but finger tight. Checked on this at the beginning of the season when the whole thing was loose, and it was just that T-bolt. Both these bolts were still here, I think. Now the trick is doing this without knocking the bike over. There we go. Not too shabby. A lot of heat coloring right there. Okay, so there's the little bolt that this thing goes to. I'll have to go to the hardware store and pick up another one of these tomorrow before I put this back together. Oh, look at that. It's been rubbing my caliper real bad. Wow, that's almost dangerous. Wow. So it looks like it's bottomed out against this lug here. And a bunch of scraping there and a bunch of scraping there. Man. I do not like that. Here, I'm going to bring in the camera for a close-up on this. Alright, so this bracket, it bolts to the frame, so it's not attached to the swing arm. Look at that. It's just scraping through my caliper. It's scraping through the spot where this bolts on. I mean, it gets much worse. This bolt is going to fail and I'm going to lose the rear brakes. That's not cool. Dang. I'll send them photos of that and be like, what the hell, guys? Maybe I should put spacers behind, okay, yeah. Get some spacers between this and the bike so that it spaces it out a little bit. So I'm not so close here. It'll push the muffler out a little bit, but I think the muffler needs to be out a little bit. Dang, that's not good. Okay, so let's go to the muffler now. I'm gonna have to pull that bolt. I think that's the only one. Then I'm gonna have to fight to get the baffling out of here. But as you can see, it's quite straight through. Anyways, there's light. There's just a cone down there. And there's a hole drilled in the middle of the cone from when we dynoed it. He had to put a oxygen sensor probe all the way up into the individual pipes because he did an individual cylinder tune. So you need to get his probe all the way up into each separate pipe. Anyways, I'm going to reef on this for a little while now. Okay, so fair warning, this is 3/16. I don't have much for SAE Allen wrenches. This one's kind of short. There we go. I know I've got a longer 3/16 inch somewhere, but I don't take very good care of my SAE ones. Of course, it didn't come with any instructions at all. I assume that this has got to come out of here somehow. Alright, I did this off camera, but as you can see, it started to come out. What I did was I set this on the edge of my bench, and then I dropped the hammer in like this and just punched it out because I got that baffle in the middle, you know, that cone shaped baffle. So there's my end piece. Fiberglass dust coming out. Alright. That's everything that was doing the muffling in this bike. So you can kind of see the cone. Let's see if I can get this on camera now. So there's the cone, and the rest of this is just hollow tube. Yeah, you can see that real nicely now. So yeah. Since I wasn't too worried about saving this, I was able to just, you know, reef on it with a hammer. It came right out. I got the fiberglass baffling left behind. Alright, I keep popping off camera to get this started, but yeah, this time I used a breaker bar and I just kind of shoved on it a whole bunch. Don't want to damage the good end of this, so I keep standing it up on the short end. Anyways, you can see they taped it together the same way the new one arrived. So, seems to have weathered well, aside from the fact that now I've removed it. But I can always save this, cut the tape, rewrap it if I ever needed to put it back in. I know guys I've talked to before have said things like wrapping it in steel wool instead of fiberglass completely changed the tone of their exhaust, and it sounded like it was for the better. Anyways, got arrows on here. It says end cap, so it goes in this way. So let's see if I can get this on video now. So oops, trip over the camera. Here we go. See that? It's hard to see in there because it's so dark, but yeah, there's a cap right there. And you see from this end, you can't see any light. So what it is the cap looks like it's about 1/4 inch smaller in diameter than the rest of the pipe. And there's some smaller version of this mesh connecting. You can see this kind of reducer right here. And it connects that reducer to that cap. So the pipe is completely plugged up. It has to come bounce off of that and then go through this like 1 inch area of mesh through this 1/4 inch gap. It's going to be tremendously quieter, I think. Anyways, end cap up. Oh good, it fits nicely. I was afraid I was going to have to grease this thing to get it in here. Cool. Come on. Oh, this is taken up by the end cap. Okay, I get it. Like it doesn't go all the way in. I think this is fine. I hope. I don't know. It seems like it's too long. Okay, let's get you back out of here. Let's see if they sent me the wrong length. Nope, that's the right length. All right. Why aren't you fitting? There we go. Oops. There we go. Good enough. Alright, so you gotta hammer that down in there a little bit. And now the end cap will fit. Let's get around this pipe that I've damaged a little bit. Come on. I know you fit. This end cap is aluminum. Nice. I should get a block of wood I can put over this. Hammer directly on it. That's what I had. Okay, I can see the threads. They're almost there. Hope I'm not too close to the camera. Almost there. Alright, now before this goes back together, I need to get another one of these bolts. It's clearly stainless steel. The threads are all coated with rust because it's threaded into mild steel, but and then I need to get a couple of washers that are going to space this out from my brakes so I don't do any further damage to the brakes. It's really frustrating that it did that much damage as it is. Anyways, this thing's ready to get back on there, and it's just waiting on me and the bike. So the side that nobody can see, I've got a little bit of, God grief. I've got a little bit of corrosion here, but I could probably polish that off with Scotch-Brite or something. The rest of the pipe looks just amazing still. This thing turns out to just be flimsy piece of crap. They should have put some gusset. It's got a, comes out along the bike and then makes a 90 and then makes another 90. It should have had a bunch of gusseting sitting up here and it doesn't. So turns out you can just grab this and bend it. So what I did was I pulled it away from the bike so I got a good, finger's width behind it. Hopefully it'll stay like that. My exhaust will be pointed off slightly this way. Maybe the exhaust will push it back. I don't know. We'll see. Getting washers behind the bolts is pointless since this thing's bendable. It'll just bend to wherever it wants to be, which includes bouncing off the caliper. I'm very leery about this caliper now. Most of that boss has been shaved off. It's really uncool. Yeah, I've got some words to email to these people. Anyways, let's get the muffler back on here. Get this all back together and hear how it sounds. Okay, I need to bend these out a little bit. All right, we seem to be back about where we were before. All right, there we go. I still haven't attached it to this bracket actually, so still got more to do, but that's what it sounds like. So we'll go back to that other spot where I did the previous test and we'll do a decibel test, but I can tell already that it's muffled, so it's nice, and it still seems to have that good roar, so I'm happy with how it sounds. I guess in the end I'm the one that matters. So for these bolts, this isn't too hot yet. gotta get this bar to line up. Probably shouldn't have taken the muffler all the way down until I put this in, because I'm still going to rotate it a little bit. I was in a rush to hear how it sounded. So let's get this done now. Let's loosen this up. Ooh, that's hot. So this is the spot where it makes that 90-degree turn. See, it's bolted to a frame down there. The swing arm moves up and down, including that caliper. And it needs a gusset back here in this corner. And I don't know, somehow it needs a gusset up here. This maybe shift this 90-degree back a little bit. Maybe even make it clear this stupid clamp right here. But shift it back a little bit so you can get to that bolt. You know, you can't hardly get an Allen wrench into these two Allens while the exhaust system's on. It completely blocks itself, which makes a good case for not using Allen keys here. You should have just used hex heads, but whatever. Next time I take it off, it's going back on with hex heads, and I may put in my own damn gussets right there. It's just ridiculous. This thing's so flimsy. But yeah. I'm currently sitting on the bike. The engine is up to temperature. It's idling at 1,000 RPM. Yep. 950 to 1,000. And we're going to do some revving. First we'll get this nice baseline, then I'll do 1,000, I'll do up by 1,000 at a time, and I'll hold it there for a moment. To about $6,000 there. This is holding the phone and the microphone right on in my chest while I'm sitting on the bike. Okay, new exhaust is installed. Time for a test. We're going to go up 1,000 RPM at a time, starting at idle. Accidentally went to about 6,800 at the end, so I backed it back down to $6,000, so the peak might be a little bit higher than the old one. I'll have to review the footage when I get home. guys, thanks for watching. As you can see, it did a little bit for the bike. If you go back through the footages, I did quite a bit. The at all RPM ranges, it's at least 3 decibels quieter, and at some it's 5 to 6. But and when you're standing next to the bike, when you fire it up, you can tell it's more muffled than it was. It doesn't have the sharp bite to it that it quite had before, and it's better. But I spent $100 on that dB quieter. It's so it makes it about $1,000 exhaust system now. It looks great, but it's destroying my rear caliper. I bent it away, so it seems to be staying there, but that really pisses me off. Now I need to buy a new rear caliper because that one's just flat dangerous. And I got $1,000 into this thing, and it's still rather painfully loud. I tried to wear my quieter earplugs when I went for a ride today, and I can't. I still have to wear my strongest earplugs ever. So it hasn't achieved what I set out to do. So I may be looking into other exhaust options. I really like how this one looks on the bike, so it's killing me that it didn't solve my problem. Maybe I'll try welding in my own solution. I had some idea about welding in some kind of sheet metal spiral to force the exhaust into the fiberglass resonator on the way out. I'll give that a shot. But you know, if that cap that they welded into the center of that thing didn't muffle it down. Although honestly, they clearly didn't tune that. They just stuck it in there. Oh, we'll just kind of force the exhaust into the baffles a little bit, but they didn't do any kind of, you know, resonant noise canceling. So I'm not terribly impressed with this, and wouldn't recommend anybody buying it. Don't bother buying the quiet baffles. It doesn't help enough to be worth, you know, $25 maybe. $100? No, not at all. Don't bother. So yeah, hope that you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Catch you next time.